The church in Arizona is very well known. Gilbert, the main part of the mission, it's called the Gilbert Mission, is very highly populated with Mormons. So everybody knows Mormons. So actually the reason why the Gilbert Mission came about, because in 2013, it was actually split from the Tempe Mission. So you could drive top to bottom in the Gilbert Mission in an hour. It's very, very small. Geographically, when it was first created, it was the smallest in the world other than the Temple Square Mission. So it's very small. And before I had even gotten to the mission, Elder Anderson had come and spoken with the missionaries there, and he said that the reason that they created this mission was because they wanted a high concentration of missionaries in a small amount of area so that they could work more with members. So there would be missionaries, especially those who served in Gilbert, that they would be serving in an area that was like a square mile, and it would just be tiny. There's no way that you can knock on every single door and find people to teach, because most of them are members. And so they had to work with the members and sharing with them an apostolic promise from Elder Anderson that talks about praying to know who to share the gospel with and having faith that Heavenly Father will, find someone for you to share your testimony with. And so that's where a lot of our fighting came from, was for members. We did a lot of member visits. But if you did serve, which the other two cities in the mission was Gilbert / Santan Valley. They're like two different parts, but basically the same city. And then Florence. And we had a little part of East Mesa, but East Mesa is pretty similar to Gilbert. So Green Creek and Florence weren't as highly concentrated with members, but a lot of people still knew who they were. But for most of my mission, because I served in Santan Valley and Florence, a lot of my mission consisted of just being out on the streets and knocking and talking to people, but we did do the best that we could to meet with members. But I did find that of all the baptisms that I was able to see, not just, my own that I was a part of, but others, that members had a huge, huge role in it, that they could get into homes that there was no way that we would have been able to. And so for us, that was a big part of how we saw success, was because of the members. We have a temple on our mission, a huge temple. When it was built, it was the biggest temple to be built in the last 17 years. So it's there to accommodate a lot of people. So there's a lot of work that's being done, not only for the living, because the Gilbert mission is seeing a lot of success, but also a lot of work is being done for the dead. And so it's just growing rapidly. But also because of that, a lot of people, they think that they know the church, and so they avoid the missionaries, or they don't want to talk to you just because they either were members and are inactive, or they grew up, in Gilbert, and so they know everything that they think they should know about the church. And so really it just takes, fellowship, those members being there for them and being examples, so that it can open the door for them for missionaries to share the gospel. But I would say that members are definitely the biggest part. In Arizona, most people who, if they aren't members of the church, they are a non-denominational Christian, and there's a lot of those in Arizona. I wouldn't say as many LDS churches, but there's definitely a lot of non-denominational Christian churches, and those ones, they're very stubborn, so loving, but very stubborn, and it's kind of scary because a lot of their churches teach anti-Mormon doctrine as a part, like a Sunday school class. That's like part of their church, is to learn, anti-Mormon things to protect them when the missionaries come along. And so I did experience a lot of, anti-problems when talking with people. And so the people are always willing to listen, but they're not always willing to learn. And so so you have to try very, very hard to not want to battle with them. And so you just have to learn to bear your testimony and to just, pray that their heart can be softened so that they can be willing to listen, the next time missionaries come around. But I would definitely say non-denominational is the biggest other church there. There are Catholic churches there, but it's not as prominent. Like attendance-wise, it's pretty good. And even those who don't attend who are less active, the auxiliaries are very much aware of them. Some of them are probably friends with them, but they know where they stand and that they're not interested at that time. But it's very important because when they are ready, they're able to come back. But I would say that attendance is pretty good. There are, inactive people, but yeah, they're aware of them, like they know who they are. So that's what I experienced at least. I would say something that I would have done differently, I think, is having more patience with the members, because I think when you go on a mission, you just get into this mindset that, that they aren't doing the best that they can as far as missionary work goes. And it's easy to have that perspective when you're on a mission and that's all you care about for 18 months. And so it's really hard on you when you're trying to do your job and you feel like they're not doing theirs. But being bold with members and really promising them that they can see blessings as they pray for missionary work was very effective. I would say that one of the best finding ways that we found was just sharing this apostolic promise that our mission president just pushed us to share. It said, like, I promise you, as you pray to know with whom to speak, names and faces will come into your mind. Words will come to you in the moment that you need them. That faith will overcome doubt, and you'll be blessed with your very own miracles. And in particular, in my first area, as we were sharing this with the family, we served with elders, and so we had dinner with them at this member's house. And we shared that apostolic promise with them and asked if, as a family, that they would kneel down and pray with us and pray to know if they could find someone. And we had asked the dad, because we're like, well, we want the father of the home to offer this prayer. And he was very reluctant to do it. He was like, I don't really, I've prayed for missionary opportunities before. I don't know if this is really going to work. And he was just being stubborn, and we're like, no, pray for it. Let your faith overcome your doubt. We know that Heavenly Father has someone for you. And he was just like, all right. So we all kneeled down, and he offers this prayer. And the whole time I'm just like, this guy, he does not want to do this. But then a couple weeks later, he comes up to my companion and I at church, and he says, sisters, I have someone for you to teach. And so he and his wife had this son that's married, and they just all of a sudden were going to come stay with them for a month or two while they were trying to figure some things out. And the wife wasn't a member, and when she came to move in with them, she said, I really want to meet with the missionaries. And so he told us that story, and we're like, see, Heavenly Father was listening to you. And she actually was baptized and was doing awesome. And so that was just the apostles and the prophets, they're powerful, and the words that they share are powerful. And by sharing that with people, I think that was a big, especially members, that was a really big finding. But I would also say just through activities, that was also a really good one, using your talents. In my last area, my companion and I would sing a lot. We both really liked to sing, and she could play the guitar. So we would use that, and a lot of people are really willing to listen to you have a song to share with them. And so we could be out on the street and we would just sing with them. And there's actually a lot of people who can play the guitar. And so we would have just 10 minutes, a little jam sesh with them. And then we would ask them if we could share a message with them and a prayer. And they were always willing to, because we had gone past that wall, this missionary wall that, oh, these missionaries don't know what I'm going through, or they won't understand. But once we show them that we're real people, then they're more willing. And so just by using your talents, there's so many things that you could do. I remember my companion and I, there was these kids that were teenagers, and they lived on the same street that we did, and they were always playing basketball. And one day we were walking past them, and we were teaching the mom, but they were never really interested. But we were joking around with them as we were walking by about playing basketball, and we're like, oh, hey, who's winning? And they're like, why don't you guys come play and see if you could beat us? And we're like, you know what? Okay, we will. And so we're like, we will play you guys for 5 minutes, and if we win, can we teach you a 5-minute lesson? And they're like, I guess so. They didn't think that we would beat them, but we beat them. I don't know if I should feel very proud that I beat 13-year-old boys at basketball, but it was worth it because we got to share with them some good messages. And so yeah, just using talents and just having fun with the people, because that's what they want. They don't want someone who's stiff, who can't show them that life is meant to be enjoyed, and by learning the gospel, it only enhances that. So I served from March 2014 to September 2015, and I served in Gilbert, Santan Valley, Gilbert, and East Mesa.